What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG here, bringing another Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile. Now, this is a deck that one of my viewers actually pilled me on. This deck is actually super sick, and I've shown it off, I believe, once or twice on the channel before, but I want to show it off finally in paper. Here is Vaalmonica. This is like a rank 4 link adjacent strategy that revolves around pendulums. It wants to do a lot of different things, but unlike S-Force, or as I like to call it, Ass-Force, this deck actually kind of has a through line all the way through. That's what a through line means, isn't that funny? But I don't want to keep yapping this entire intro. Let's get to the profile. Starting off with our main deck, we are on triple of the main gal in charge, 3 Cellatrix Vaalmonica. On normal or penned summon, we are able to add a Vaalmonica card from deck to hand. And then if it's sent to the graveyard and we have 2 scale set, we are able to just add it from graveyard right back to hand. It doesn't matter how it was sent to the graveyard. Really great for a starter being able to consistently add itself right back to your hand. It's a level 4, it's a spellcaster, it's a water for some reason. Its stats aren't really the best, but the main reason that we're playing it is because this on summon searches any one of our cards, which is crazy. It's really good in this deck. So we are playing 3 of it. We are playing 1, 2, 3 copies of Yugioh Vaalmonica. This is our first pen scale. Both the pen scales have this in-hand effect as a monster. If this card's in your hand, you can discard one other card, take one Demono, or in the other case, the Demono will say Yugioh Vaalmonica, and place this card and that card in your pen zones. During your main phase, if this is normal or a special summon this turn, we can banish a Vaalmonica normal spell or trap, and this is going to go the same but the opposite for the Demono. We get the effect that involves gaining life points, and we just get to copy the effect, which is great. We get to copy it, so if we even use the spell earlier in the turn, we just get to do it again. And then its in-scale effect is each time if you gain life points while you control a fiend monster, a fiend card in your other pen zone, we get to put a resonance counter on this card. And when an opponent's monster clears an attack, we can immediately after this effect resolves, link summon 1 Vaalmonica link monster, which is relevant. A lot of people don't actually know about that attacking effect. That effect is very relevant, especially given some of the board states we can kind of construct our opponents to have to attack us into. So we are on triple Yugioh, and then given that we are on triple of the angle, we are also on triple of the Debil. We're on triple Demono Vaalmonica. Everything about it is functionally the same as Yugioh in terms of the monster effect, but instead of copying the life point gain effect, you copy the life point loss effect of a spell or trap. And then in scale, each time you take effect damage while you control a fairy in your other scale, you put a counter on this card, and then monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack for each resonance counter on our side of the field. Typically that's going to be about 600, however, we can make that be a little bit more with some setup or with some baller ass hands. So we're on 3 of the angle and 3 of the Debil. That's all for our monsters. 9 monsters in the archetype, pretty Snake Eye-esque. For our spells, we're on triple Vaalmonica Skelta. All the spells except for, one, the one that we're going to cover right immediately after this. Your opponent actually has to choose what effect you apply unless you have 2 cards in scale. So take that with a grain of salt. We want to always be activating our spells if we have scale set. If we do not have scale set, it is really a gamble and it requires our opponent to pick the wrong thing or for us to just kind of get lucky. But Skelter reads, we can either gain 500 life points and place 1 card on our hand on the bottom of the deck and then, pot of greed, or we get to take 500 damage and then add a Vaalmonica spell or trap from our deck to our hand. Now, we're pretty much always going to be wanting to do that, adding a Vaalmonica spell or trap. Tutoring is great, and since we pay life points to do that, that means we can copy that effect with Demono Vaalmonica, which is really great. So we can get double searches or even triple searches if we started off our turn with Cellatrix, which means we're going to be going through our deck quite frequently, which means this deck does actually have a big choke point to Droll and Lockbird specifically. But we are on 3 Skelta. This is the card that I said actually doesn't really have that your opponent choosing effect. We're on triple copies of Vaalmonica Invitare. We can apply one of these effects, either special summoning a Vaalmonica monster from our deck for the rest of the turn. After this card resolves, we cannot activate the effects of monsters on the field except for Vaalmonica monsters. Now, on first glance, you might say, oh, we can summon our Cellatrix in order to search a card. But Cellatrix is only on normal or pen summon, so that is just a waste. So typically, if you are going to be special summoning, you want to be special summoning either the Angle or the Debil. And then its secondary effect says if you control a non-pendulum Vaalmonica monster, take 2 Vaalmonica pendulums with different names from your deck and add 1 to your hand and the other to our face-up extra deck. So immediately enabling us to scale a monster and then put a monster in extra deck that we can then special summon with a pen summon, which is really great. And that second effect doesn't lock us into just Vaalmonica effects for the rest of the turn, so that actually allows us to OTK quite easily. So Inventory is quite great, and we are playing 3 of it. We're on triple of the field spell, Vaalmonica Yugioh Voice. This field spell says when it's activated, we can just add a Vaalmonica monster from deck to hand, so either the Angel, the Devil, or the Cellatrix herself. And if a card in your pen zone has a 3rd resonance counter placed on it, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls and just take it until the end phase, but it can't declare an attack. That's fine. It's going to be a lot more relevant. Like, you're going to see why that's a lot more relevant once we get to our Link monsters. But this card is quite good, and we do have to be maxing out on it because it does get our starter being Cellatrix. So we are on 3 Vaalmonica, the Yugioh Voice. We're on 2 copies of Vaalmonica Disharmonia. This is another one where we actually get to choose what effect is applied. The first thing it does before anything else is we get to put a resonance counter on a card on our pen zone that we can put a resonance counter on. So immediately just adding 1 onto anything we want without, having to go through the math of finding out whether we need to be doing life point gain effects or loss effects in order to gain counters. And its effects is we can either gain 500, add a banished Vaalmonica card from our banishment to our hand except for itself, or take 500 and add a Vaalmonica card from our graveyard to our hand except for itself. Really great way of securing future turns. We can even add back something like our quick play Inventory, so we can set it and then activate it again on our opponent's turn. Just a really great card. We're playing 2 of it because it's very searchable. Because this deck also has a little sub thing where it wants to be sending cards to the graveyard and, like I said, copying it by banishing it with the either Angel or Devil. And then this can either grab back the banished cards that we copied or the cards that we just sent to the graveyard, period. So we're on 2 Disharmonia. We're only on 2 because it can add counters onto things, so we do want to be seeing it in order to, artificially inflate our counters. We're on 1 copy of Vaalmonica Brrr. This is our last normal spell. Apply one of these effects unless you have a Vaalmonica card in your pen zone. Your opponent gets to choose which one you apply, so this is another one where your opponent gets to choose. We get to gain 500 and then excavate cards from the top of our deck till we excavate a Vaalmonica card, goddamn, and then add that card to our hand and then shuffle the rest of the deck, and then take 500 and then send a Vaalmonica card from our deck to the graveyard except for itself. The main effect we're going to be using on this one is going to be sending a card from deck to graveyard, so we're able to copy whatever we want. And the cards that we're primarily going to be sending are going to be our next 2, being Vaalmonica Chosen Melody and Vaalmonica Followed Rhythm. These ones our opponent actually doesn't get to choose. This one we do, but we get to choose both effects if we have a Link monster. We get to apply one of these effects, so we must control a Vaalmonica monster to activate it and resolve. And then if we control a Link, we get to apply both in sequence. Chosen Melody says we get to gain 500 for the rest of the turn. Your opponents cannot target Vaalmonica monsters you control with card effects. Keep in mind that does not protect our scales. And then, or we can take 500 damage and negate the effects of one effect monster your opponent controls till the end of the turn. Notably, that is non-targeting negation, which is very interesting that they actually gave this deck such a powerful form of interaction, especially given the fact that we can just dump it to the graveyard and copy it whenever we'd really like with one of the Link monsters. And then Followed Rhythm reads, we can either gain 500 and pop a spell or trap on field, again, non-targeting, and then or take 500 damage and return a monster on field to the hand, again, non-targeting. Really great interaction cards, especially if we get to do both effects and then do both cards in one turn. Really powerful, so we can kind of pick and choose which one we want to send to graveyard. That's it for our Vaalmonica cards. The rest of the deck is going to basically be non-engine. We're on 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust, paired with 1 Pot of Prosperity as a search target, as well as this can grab some of our starter cards as well. 1 Triple Tactics Talents, as well as paired with a secondary one, and then 1 Called by the Grave for our Hand Trap Hate tools. Triple Tack actually is really powerful in this deck, because we can take our opponent's monsters and then immediately link off using them if we have reached the resonance counter limit that we want to be hitting. So that's just a really powerful little synergy there. That's why we're running Thrust. There is argument to be running cards like Terraforming, but this deck already has plenty of searchability already in archetype. So I did want to, make it a little bit better into the current metagame. So I wanted to include these instead of including the Terraforming, because this deck is actually quite tight. And then the rest of our deck is going to be hand traps. We are on triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, triple copies of Infinite Impermanence, triple copies of Effect Veiler, and then do 2 copies of Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. This is going to be our hand trap lineup. It is going to be 11, so not looking too bad in terms of the 10 to 15 that you are kind of required to play at the moment. But that's it for our main deck, a nice solid 40. Now let us move to our extra deck. In our extra deck, I'm going to be covering why all those take effects are so good. Speaking of, we're going to be talking about this card. We're on 2 Zebufera, Vaalmonician Hallowed Heathen. It needs 1 effect monster. That's it. It's a link 1 that just needs an effect monster. Cannot be link summoned unless you have 3 more resonance counters on a fiend, so you have to have 3 counters on the Demono Vaalmonica. And then you can only special summon this once per turn. If a card you control will be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can remove 3 resonance counters from one of your pen zones instead. That protection effect is very relevant because it protects both your scales and your card. It protects itself. It's really crazy. And this card also has the effect, where quick effect, you can target one of your Vaalmonica normal spells or traps that are banished or in your graveyard and apply that card's activation effect. That is a quick effect only on your opponent's turn. However, that is typically when you want to be activating them because you can just activate them on your turn anyway with either, if they're in the graveyard with the Angelo or Demono, or if they're in your hand or on field, just activating them. So this card is really good and we're playing 2 of it just so we can do it repeatedly. Speaking of playing 2 of a really good Vaalmonica Link 1, we're on 2 Duralume. I'm just going to call it that. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Vaalmonician Heathen Hallow. Needs 1 effect monster. Cannot be linked summoned unless you have 3 more counters on the other one, the Angelo. And you can only special summon it once per turn. If it's link summoned, you can target monsters your opponent controls up to the number of resonance counters in your pen zones and pop those cards. What that typically means is since you can only summon it with 3 counters that are on the field, you're always going to be popping 3 cards when you summon this. And this is the card you want to be summoning. Like I was mentioning with the Angelo Vaalmonica, this is the card you want to be summoning off of the Angelo if your opponent actually chooses to attack into you. So really powerful stuff there. And this is also our OTK tool because its final effect says we can remove 3 resonance counters from our pen zones, and it can make 3 attacks during each battle phase this turn. At 2500 attack, that is just a little under lethal, being a 7500 damage. However, we are playing an extra deck tool in order to push that way beyond that limit. So it does those 2 link monsters, and then our newest Vaalmonica link monster, 1 copy of brrr, Vaalmonician Concord. It needs 2 monsters, including a Vaalmonica link, so we do have to make either Zeb or Duralume beforehand. It's unaffected by card effects except for Vaalmonica cards, just a towers, 3000 attack towers. While you have 6 or more resonance counters on your field, it gains 1 additional attack during each battle phase for each level 4 Vaalmonica monster you control. So it only gains that unaffected effect if you have 6 counters on your field, and then for each Vaalmonica card you control, this card gains an additional attack. It's worded a little bit strange, but you know, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! You gotta get used to it. Once per turn, when your opponent would special summon a monster, if you have 3+ resonance counters on your field, quick effect, you can negate the summon, and if you do, destroy the monster and then remove the counters. Just a solemn warning. It's just a solemn warning. It's really, really good. This is kind of what the deck really needed. Zeb was really good before as a card to end on, but if you really open a high-end combo, you can end on brrr plus Zeb, and now you have a Solemn Judgment and whatever you have in graveyard. This card's most likely an unaffected monster, or we can make it an unaffected monster during the course of our opponent's turn. That's it for our Vaalmonica links and extra deck cards in general. We're on 1 SPNS Little Knight, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, and then 1 Access Code Talker for our last link monsters that we are playing. And then for our Xyz monsters, we are a rank 4 deck, so we're playing some pretty neat rank 4s. We're on 1 Utopia and 1 Utopia the Lightning, the 2015-2016 special. This is just something funny I wanted to include. This is more to make a point that this card's deck's extra deck space is very open to interpretation. You can play Fiendsmith in here if you wanted to, although I did opt not to play Fiendsmith just because the last deck I uploaded was a Fiendsmith deck, and I don't want to be just uploading Fiendsmith after Fiendsmith after Fiendsmith, you know what I mean? And I think this deck is a lot more fun when you play it this way, at least in my opinion. But Utopia the Lightning is like an Armades that becomes 5,000 attack during the battle phase, so it can run over pretty much anything that's really problematic. The only thing that it can't really do is the Adignister Big Boy. We're on one Evil Swarm Exciton Knight, again bringing back that 2014-2015 vibes, although I believe Exciton was banned at that point. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really fact-checked this, to be completely honest. One Bagusker, the Terribly Tired Tapir, as well as one Abyss Dweller for really fun games that these cards produce. And then our last two cards, we're on one Superstar Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis, and then the card that I really wanted to pay attention to during this deck profile, number 60, Dugaris the Timeless. Dugaris, when paired with Durlume, Vaalmonica, Heathen Hallow, is incredible. This is the only real use case for Dugaris in the actual deck, because Dugaris needs 2 4s and you can attach 2 materials to activate one of the effects. Either skipping your draw phase, draw 2 and discard a card, skip your main phase, and then you special summon a card from your graveyard in defense position, or skip your next battle phase and double the attack of one monster you control until end of turn. Now you can kind of guess which one we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing the double attack one, specifically on Durlume that can attack 3 times. Putting it to a 5,000 attack monster that swings 3 times means it can even eat an attack from a monster your opponent controls and still do 10,000 damage to face. This is also why we're not playing a card like Utopia Double in the deck, just because this deck has an easier version of doing that without playing a Garnet in the main deck, which is fantastic. Like, this combo is super cool. If people don't really know the deck, they're not going to be expecting this, I guarantee it. And this is a super neat little combo that you are able to include. But that is going to be about the end of the deck profile. Thank you all so much for watching, if you still are. Please, thank you to my one member. Thank you, Ari. If you want to become a member, please check out the end card of the video. It goes into more details about what benefits you are able to acquire there, and it really supports me in making these videos for you all. But again, thank you all so much for watching, if you still are, and I'll be seeing you all later. Bye-bye! Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel, where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or 2 before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.